Hey guys, how's it going today? I hope you all are doing fantastic. Today we are going to just go ahead and go over this program that I have written. You may have been around and about my channel if you feel like visiting that sort of thing. And you may have noticed that I've have a playlist up, but it's all about this One Night Ultimate Generator. Now, what exactly is the One Night Ultimate Generator? Well, as the name implies, it is a generator that generates random lists of role cards for the game One Night Ultimate Werewolf. Now, just a disclaimer, I did not make this game. The One Night Ultimate Werewolf is strictly owned by Bizer Games. I just thought it would be a lot of fun to actually go ahead and try to write a software that randomly generates a list of roles. So if we, for example, include just One Night Ultimate Werewolf, right, and then we hit the start button, it writes a list in red text here of the roles that can be used, right? Now, if we ignore all these fancy filters, it just completely generates a random list of roles that happen to be in the game. And if you're not sure what those are, you can always just look at these filters and look at the question mark. Like, let's see, number of werewolves. Werewolves can be, it looks like either werewolf or minion, right? But currently, it also lets us know that the werewolf specifications are currently disabled. And what that means basically is that this marked box here is marked as an X. And essentially, if you don't have any of these marked, then it just means that all of the cards that need to be generated for the number of players, in this case 5, they'll be generated completely randomly based on the games you have selected. So we have, for example, let's put a game of 8 players, which needs to generate 11 cards, and let's say we want to put at least 2 werewolves in the game, right? So we'll enable this and set this number to 2. Right? And the maximum we can put is 3 because there are 3 werewolf cards in the deck of One Night Ultimate Werewolf, right? And so when we go ahead and click start, every time the first 2 roles will either be minion, werewolf, or both of them will be werewolf, right? You'll notice some of them say werewolf too, but that just means it's a second copy of the same werewolf role, right? Because the program never repeats a role that it already generated. So if you see minion up here, you're not going to see minion all the way down here. So that's the bare bones of it. And you can obviously fiddle around and see which games like you want to put in. If you want to play with, for example, Werewolf and Daybreak, it adjusts the maximum number of roles you can put into the filters accordingly, and it adds the ones that normally wouldn't be. Like without Daybreak, Witch doesn't exist, for example. So it just says the number of Stealers can only include Robber. But if we enable Daybreak, it lets us use Witch, right? So, and it's a similar mechanic for the rest of these here. Um, Other than that, there's only one more feature that's really notable here, other than these buttons over here, and that is the use recommended slash balance settings. Now, we all like, of course, this has to be user friendly if I'm going to make it a successful software. And I'm not trying to market this or anything. It's just for fun use at this point. But this, if we have use recommended balance settings, it will automatically adjust the filters to what it thinks a balanced game would look like. Balanced meaning fair. So like you're not gonna have at least 4 werewolves in a 3-player game because that's hardly fair. Statistically speaking, most of the games are going to be full of werewolves, and that makes it no fun if you get a villager roll, right? And so basically, we're only going to allow for 2 werewolves in the filters when there's only 3 players. And then once it goes up to 6, it has 3. Now this works at the same time if you just put vampires, it's the same mechanic, or if you just put aliens, it's the same deal. So at least 3, right? Now, of course, when it generates the remaining 6 cards, it can generate more aliens, right? But this ensures that there are at least 3 aliens in the game, so we don't have a game that's all villagers or all aliens, right? So anyway, if you try to adjust these filters while you have recommended settings on, it'll give you an error and it won't actually let you change them around. So if you want to set these manually, you think you're good enough, then go ahead and unmark that checkbox right there. And if you want to take all the games and just completely randomize it, you can always just mark all of these as X. Right? Turn off all the filters that make specific roles happen, choose your number of players, and then click start. Right? So included in the video's description below, I have a link to a playlist, and this playlist will actually go through all the different combinations of these games that you can make, and it emphasizes the feature of this play button. Now, how this play button works is that it just generates roll lists. It's the same as the start button here, but it generates 60 lists a second. So you can pause the video whenever you want, and then bam, you have a random roll list. And obviously, I'm not going to be able to read any of these lists until I go off of it, and I just hit start, or I just move my mouse off the pause button. So yeah, hopefully I don't crash this thing, right? And then if in the video I will be using this magnifying glass, which stretches out the actual list itself, so it makes it a little bit easier to read. But if you wanted to adjust the filters, you would just have to click this again, right? And this is the full screen button, but we're not going to touch that right now because we don't need to. All right, so yeah, go ahead if you would like to actually use this for your own purposes. You totally can. Just go ahead and head on over to the playlist that I've included in the description. Thank you guys very much, and I will see you next time.